What you may figure out about me while I'm talking today is my accent. It doesn't sound Chinese at all. It has a little bit of a southern draw to it, and that might seem confusing at first. This is something that I face almost daily when interacting with new people. Where did your accent come from? My name is Yin, and today I'm here to talk about that. I was born in a teeny Appalachian regional hospital in Harlan, which is a former coal mining community tucked away in the southeastern corner of Kentucky. My mother immigrated to the United States when she was about 17 years old, and by chance or by pure luck, found herself opening a small Chinese restaurant in this little Appalachian town. That is what makes me what some might call an Appalachian. Having lived in Harlan County for over 20 years, it was and still is the place that I call home. I have lived and breathed the Appalachian lifestyle. So much so that when I was in preschool, I didn't even know that I was Chinese. One winter, my teachers planned a Chinese New Year celebration and asked me if I was excited to show my friends my culture. My parents often tell the story of me running home in excitement that day to tell them, "Guess what I am, Mommy? I'm Chinese." Astonishingly, I was one of the only persons in the entire community that did not know my own identity. I didn't know what Chinese meant back then, and if I'm being a little honest, I still don't know now. To this day, less than 0.5% of Harlan County is Asian, and I'm pretty sure that my family makes up most of that 0.5%. In a field of Kentucky horses, I like to call myself a unicorn. But because that I was the only one of my kind, I spent most of my childhood just trying so hard to fit in. Fitting in got a little more difficult when I entered middle school. I took dance classes, and I was always assigned an Asian-inspired theme to dance to. I played basketball, and my parents insisted that I could not wear the number 14 because of the bad luck associated with that number in China. I begged my parents to send me to school with a Lunchable instead of rice and noodles. And then by the time that I got to high school, I had learned that all my successes in school were due to my Chineseness and not due to my hard work. Although these experiences may seem challenging, I'm happy to say that they do not dominate my memory of my childhood in Harlan. On the contrary, I feel privileged to say that I've never felt the cycle of perpetual discrimination or prejudice that so many minorities face. I had a fairly happy childhood. Learning how to fish, watching movies with my friends, driving along windy roads as a teenager, and of course, listening to Taylor Swift on repeat. Eventually, I took the same path that many young individuals are told to take. I got good grades, I applied for scholarships, and I went to college. I started my new journey in Lexington at the University of Kentucky, and that's when all the questions started. Where did your accent come from? What are you doing in Kentucky? Where are you from? No, where are you really from? And I couldn't tell if these questions were being prompted because I was Chinese, because I was Appalachian, or because I was both. And eventually, I realized that I couldn't answer all these questions because I couldn't see myself the way that other people saw me. To the stranger on the sidewalk, I was just another Asian American student who was probably here studying abroad to major in something like computer science engineering. What I knew was I was exactly not those things. I was more Appalachian than I ever was Chinese, and I was here to learn like the rest of my peers who came here for the same reason. So in the same way that I had learned that I was Chinese in preschool, at 20, I was just now realizing that I was Appalachian. I began taking more coursework, and I became super interested in psychological research. I was particularly interested in how social groups contribute to our feelings of belongingness and our beliefs about ourselves. How does one fit in a world where they're the outcast? How does not seeing anyone around you that's like you affect your well-being and sense of who you are? Since then, I learned a lot about why I might feel the way that I do. First, there's a concept about individuals' identities called salience, which refers to characteristics that are prominent, conspicuous, or otherwise noticeable compared to one's own surroundings. Being the only Asian American in Harlan County exploited my feelings and beliefs about being Chinese. But when I got to college, the most prominent and unique characteristic that I could recognize was being Appalachian. I met diversity at the University of Kentucky, which changed my perspective about who I was and my own identity. For the first time ever, I met professors and had classes with students who were Chinese American. This was something I had never encountered before and never knew that I needed. Someone who looked like me playing a successful role in society. And during those moments when I saw people like me, I stopped feeling like I was alone in my community and started also believing that I could be successful too. Another construct that I study a lot in my field is this concept of self-efficacy, which is the belief or confidence in one's own abilities to pursue a specific goal. Researchers have found that in almost all domains studied, people who hold strong beliefs that they can do something actually have better chances of doing it. And this is because self-efficacy, or our confidence, influences our choices, our persistence, and our effort. And because of this, researchers all over the world then ask the same question. Well, how can we build individuals' confidence to make people more successful? I studied this question in undergrad, and I was interested in how engineering students, specifically women, built their confidence to do engineering work. My research team asked over 1,000 students about experiences that affected their confidence. Many students had described watching a parent, a cousin, a friend, a family member do engineering work. And I learned that one of the ways in which we can build people's confidence is by watching other people succeed. If he can do it, then so can I. But what was interesting about this finding was that although most of the time watching other people succeed boosted our confidence, sometimes it could actually lower it. Why could that be? One of the reasons why watching other people succeed may not always boost our confidence is because we feel nothing in common with the model in front of us. Sure, she can do it, but I'm nothing like her. I can't do that. Feeling similar to the model in front of you is an important factor to consider when we think about how to build individuals' confidence and beliefs. Thinking back to my own experiences, this research just felt so personal. I met and spoke with so many diverse and intellectual people at college, but in reality, only half of my identity was being represented while I was there. This was a problem for me. And not just for me, but for the thousands of young individuals from these communities who may not feel as though they can achieve their dreams in young spaces. And as an educational researcher and an advocate for those in Appalachia, I thought critically about how to address this issue, and I've come up with 3 major themes. First, diversify. I hope that we can bring more diversity to these regions. Learning from people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and different lifestyles is an extraordinary experience for everyone involved. I don't want to be one of the only Asian Americans in Harlan County anymore. Appalachia needs more teachers, community members, business leaders from diverse backgrounds, not just in race, but in ideas and in past experiences. I want the next young Yin to know that she can look up to someone else. Second, for those of you that are in Appalachia now, don't be afraid to communicate with the outside world. Instead of feeling ashamed of the values that you've learned in Appalachia, take them and share them with new people. And when you've opened your mind to different experiences and different ideas, bring them back to us. And finally, find commonality. One thing I've learned the most about my two identities is that they are so similar. When my parents left China many years ago to pursue the American dream, they retained so many of the hardworking values that are so prominent in Chinese culture. But later on, I realized that the same exact values have evolved in Appalachia after years and generations of mining and survival in towns that were completely isolated. So the person next to you, or the person in front of you, or the model that you're watching might not be as different as you think. And if they can do it, then I think you can too. So where does this leave me? As I move on to learn and grow with these multiple identities, I continue to look for diversity in my community. I speak out about my own experiences and talk to people. And I find commonality with the new people that I meet every day. And with this, I become more aware of my own values, my own identity, and my own accent. Thank you all so much for being here.